Welcome back, everyone, to the Stay Introverted Podcast. I am your co-host, Jay Coleman.
And I am your other co-host, Steph Laffey.
And as always, we want to just thank you for joining us on this podcast journey. We have a very special guest, the host of the In Between podcast, Miss Elizabeth Cheney.
Hi.
Hope I said that correctly.
You did.
Awesome. First time. One take Drake. I love it.
One take Drake. Love that.
One take Drake. Even though I'm not really a fan of Aubrey, but whatever. I digress.
Yeah, different conversation.
Particularly in light of his other shenanigans. But I think Steph, we have actually set the podcast record for quickest tangent ever.
I'm impressed because this time it was you. Normally it's me.
Yeah, usually, but I want to keep people guessing, so it can't just be you all the time.
True, I love it.
But welcome, Liz. We're very happy to have you on the podcast. Thank you for joining us.
I am so happy to be here. Thank you for having me.
Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and about your podcast?
Absolutely. So my name's Elizabeth. I am local to Atlanta, Georgia, one of those weirdos that was born and raised here. And apparently that's a rarity. Didn't even realize that. And I'm from here. And people are like, oh, you're born in Georgia? And I'm like, yeah, it's okay. I'm not infected. But yeah, representing the South down here. Big believer in mental health, self-love, all of that beautiful stuff. But the in-between. I'll give you the funny answer. I called it the In-Between podcast because I wanted to be able to talk about anything and everything. And so I was like navigating life's in-betweens. Doesn't matter how big or small, there you go. But in reality, it's really turned into this beautiful place. Like, yeah, sure, we're funny, we're entertaining. And yes, I am talking about me as a plural tense, me, myself, and I. But ultimately, I wanted to create a space where people can feel, like, sure, there's the safe space, but also feel connected. And we talk about life things that honestly we're all going through that we don't necessarily talk about. I really believe in community and that connection. And I just want to spread that light, but maybe make you giggle along the way. So that's my spiel.
I love it. That's right up my alley.
It's funny you mentioned that people don't, I guess, surprised that you're from Atlanta, born and raised, because maybe it's just me, but it kind of seems that Atlanta is one of those places where people are, I guess, not from. I guess there are a lot of transplants in Atlanta, but so I found it interesting. And then it's also interesting that you said, I'm not affected because it reminds me of The Walking Dead. I think The Walking Dead was set in Atlanta. I may be wrong.
It was. That's so funny that you said that. Yes, you're so right. But you're right though. Like it's such a transplant city. And I mean, and I live in the city. Like I don't say like I'm in Atlanta, but I live, an hour away.
Right.
I live in the heart of Midtown. And I mean, I get very frustrated because there's so many out of state people, and that's okay. I don't mind out of state people, but Atlanta already stinks in terms of navigating. And because there are so many transplants, it's like 15 times worse. So, yeah, it's a thing, but it's so crazy because I mean, I've met a lot of people and it is rare to meet somebody nowadays, which God makes you sound so old, but I'm really not. But yeah, it's a thing. So you are talking to a local Atlantean.
A local, is that what you call yourself? A local Atlantean? I never really like I never knew the term for somebody from Atlanta. So.
Steph, it's a term that I just coined 5 seconds ago.
I'm obsessed. I can't wait to go to my friends that live in Atlanta and call them Atlanteans and tell them I'm right and they shouldn't even question it because they're not even from there.
You know what? You could call them an AT alien. Sometimes like we'll call ourselves AT aliens. I think that came from Outkast. I'm pretty sure that came from Outkast. Yeah. So that's what you can say to your friend Steph. You can say AT alien.
And it's cool now because now I know two things that are from Atlanta: Outkast and Liz Cheney.
Boom. And that's all you really need to know.
That's all you need.
Fried chicken and hot wings. That's all you really need to know.
So I've only actually been to Atlanta, I want to say twice, and I've been to the Beltline.
Oh yeah, I live right next to it.
Oh yeah, okay, so I was right there.
Yeah.
cool. That's all I got.
I was gonna say, well, you know what? The Beltline is like, honestly, in my opinion, it's not our claim to fame. That's being kind of ridiculous. But the Beltline is like our big, cool city thing. So honestly, you checked out one of the cooler things about the city, in my opinion. So way to go.
Cool, I love that for me.
I love that for you too.
I actually used to live not in Atlanta, but in Marietta when I was younger.
Well, that's close enough.
Yeah, I was there for
Where did you not live, Jay? I feel like you've lived everywhere.
Alaska. That's pretty much it, huh?
Wow, okay.
No, I mean I've actually haven't moved that much. New York, New Jersey, Cali, and now Massachusetts.
Okay.
I'm
And
over,
Atlanta.
well, Marietta, but close enough.
Yeah, Marietta's pretty close.
Pretty close.
Like Marietta's pretty close.
Yeah, I was there
All
for the
right.
summer, and then like I was back in New York.
Okay, cool.
And then I actually did spend some time in North Carolina. So yeah, I'm really up and down these coasts, not so much in the middle.
That's what it sounds like. That's what it sounds like.
Exactly. I need, if wherever I'm at, it has to be close to like an ocean.
Okay.
I'm a Pisces, so.
Okay.
Makes sense.
So, okay, before we move on from Atlanta, I do want to share one fun trivia fact that I did learn during COVID when I was like going on this weird like geography, like I want to learn about geography of the United States. That lasted about a week, but I learned a lot. So I learned that Atlanta is actually west of Detroit, and that blew my damn mind.
Wait, what?
Isn't that wild?
Mind blown. Wait,
Right.
what? Okay. Looks at a map immediately.
I like
What?
how all of us are like going straight to Google Maps.
If you don't think, I'm like Detroit in Atlanta.
Like Detroit should be west of Atlanta. It makes no sense.
Oh my gosh, you are right.
I was hoping that I was remembering that correctly, not gonna lie. I was like, I hope I didn't just say that and like I misremembered because that does happen all the time.
Wow. You know what? Here I am calling myself a local, and I apparently don't even know the geography.
It's okay, me neither. I don't know where anything in New York is, and I was also born and raised in New York. So
Well,
I
to
know
be
New
fair,
York City and Long Island, and that's about it. And I'm not even from Long Island.
I was gonna say New York is like a different beast.
True.
But Atlanta
Very true.
are you in the Central Time Zone or Eastern?
No, we're still Eastern.
Eastern? Okay.
Yeah.
And so is Detroit, I believe.
Oh, okay.
I didn't know that either. Dang.
I was ready
Yeah.
to call BS on that. All right.
Yeah, I was
really
like,
was.
that's wild.
I was ready.
Well, the more you know.
The more you know.
Oh my gosh. Okay, was that you, Jay? I was literally just thinking of a lot. That's so funny.
The
Wait,
star and everything. Yes.
God, that was great. Wow, you literally took the jingle out of my head.
I'm not gonna lie, I don't know that jingle.
Oh my God. That's like from our childhood stuff.
Oh, sorry. I'll just go back under my rock now.
You don't remember like for me it was like during these Saturday morning cartoons where you have like some I don't know, older guy coming at you with some random factoid, and then it's like the more you know. Do, 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 do.
You know, I never watched cartoons because I remember once I watched an episode of Fairly Odd Parents and like
Yes.
and I liked it, but then there was one episode that Timmy had a boil on his face, and I kid you not, it scarred me for life. Like I cannot watch cartoons to this day. That was 20 something years ago.
For some reason, I feel like I remember that episode.
It like fucked me up. I don't know why.
Oh my gosh. I just Googled the more you know. It's like, remember, Jay, it was like the little like star,
Yes.
and it almost looked like a 1996 Microsoft clip art thing. Yeah.
It probably
was.
It probably was.
Jinx.
It really was. But I'm tripping out that it's actually been like 20 years since the Philly Eye Parents. That's crazy.
What do you mean, 20
Yeah, isn't
years?
that
Mhm.
crazy?
That was last summer. Who are you telling? What are you saying?
Yeah,
Wow.
Fairly Odd Parents, Danny Phantom. I was like, oh wow,
Oh, Danny Phantom. I
it's
did
definitely
love some Fairly Odd Parents. I won't lie.
Yeah, it was a great show until they had to put that stupid episode in because I cannot watch cartoons like at all. Like Family Guy, South Park, like none of the even like some of the adult ones, I cannot watch it. I'm just afraid that that boil is gonna come back to haunt me.
I was gonna say, well, South Park can get a little gross and a little like,
Yeah,
okay, that's too much. That's
So you
too much,
didn't
people.
so you didn't watch like cartoons before Fairly Odd Parents?
I know
Nothing?
I did. It's just
Oh,
after
oh,
that I
okay.
never did since.
Oh, all right. Fair enough.
Did you watch Rocket Power? Remember Rocket Power?
Oh, that was amazing. Otto and like
Woogity, woogity,
yeah.
woogity. Yeah.
Yeah,
Mhm.
great show. I watched As Told by Ginger. That was like my
Oh,
favorite.
snap, crackle, pop. I loved that show.
I loved everything. I loved SpongeBob. Just that one episode. And I wish it didn't, but every time I try to like sit down and watch a cartoon, my mind goes back to that, and I'm like, nope, I can't risk it.
Wow. So,
I'm traumatized.
so speaking of SpongeBob, I actually never could get into SpongeBob. It just wasn't for me. But for some reason, I guess I happened to go to a college where everyone loves SpongeBob. So
Well, that's because everybody loves SpongeBob except for you.
I guess, but there was just one dude who really loved SpongeBob so much that he got himself a golden SpongeBob medallion.
Oh my.
Yes.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's
Huh.
commitment.
It
Do you
is.
know
It is.
that's SpongeBob, I think it still runs. Like they're still making new episodes of it.
Really?
Yeah, like I was watching the commercials of the Super Bowl yesterday. Didn't really watch the
Hmm.
game. I was watching the commercials and the halftime show. Shout out to Usher representing Atlanta.
Oh my God,
Yes.
he's from Atlanta?
Oh
Yes.
yeah. Oh yeah.
He killed it. Wow.
Killed it. I mean, I was dancing like by myself in the living room, just like get in it. But I was gonna say, I remember at some point, like, when they're not playing and they're kind of doing like little clips of people that are there, Nickelodeon was doing its first like Nickelodeon I guess hosting of the not hosting, but of the Super Bowl. So basically Nickelodeon was streaming their own like panel of the Super Bowl, which that's kind of cool for kids who maybe are like old enough to be into sports, but not old enough to really care about all like the adult stuff.
Mhm.
Anyways,
Right.
long story long, I noticed it had Patrick and SpongeBob doing the commentary.
Wow.
Nice.
So
That's
yeah,
awesome.
they are still booked and busy, man.
Nice.
I love that. Yeah, I did not even know that was like I didn't even know Nickelodeon was still a thing. But
Oh,
then
yeah.
again, why would I? I've sworn off
Yeah, I'm
cartoons.
about to say you're
Why?
no longer a cartoon girl. So
But yes, the Usher concert was fantabulous.
oh,
Um,
fantabulous.
Alicia Keys might be in trouble, but um,
Oh, she was
Right?
great.
she might have some talking to do. But
Swiss may have some words. Like the internet is reeling from that. I mean, I remember
yeah,
that was
Swiss is
a
like
lot.
that was not in practice. Nope,
Yeah.
that was not in the rehearsal. No, mm-mm.
Yeah, that
Oh
was
my God.
that was like the first time I was like, "Oh, that's cute." Okay. And I was like, "Oh god, they cuddling. They are cuddling."
Mm-mm.
Yeah, no, but man, when he come out in the rollerblades, I was like, "You're kidding me." I would have fallen on my face immediately. And he's like spinning. Oh yeah, it was so impressive.
He was like in such good shape.
I know, my
Like
gosh.
my God, I was like waiting. I was like, okay, I hope he takes his shirt off. Like when is that gonna happen? And then he finally did. I was like, oh, he's still in incredible shape. Like he looks fantastic. He looks honestly exactly like he did 20 years ago.
I agree. I absolutely agree. And I guess we can thank you, Steph, for manifesting that for all of us.
Yeah. I don't know what I did, but absolutely.
She willed it into existence.
I did. The one thing I was kind of weirded out by was what was with the one Michael Jackson glove. I was like, what are you like What's with the glove? Like, take it off.
That is so funny you say that. My husband and I, we were talking about that because we were like, he's kind of like, I guess, like the millennial. And okay, for anybody listening, please don't at me. I'm not trying to start anything, but like
Right.
he essentially is kind of like the millennial Michael Jackson, very talented,
Yeah.
big time performer. He's singing live, he's dancing, he's not letting people take the show from him. He is leading it, right? And so me and my husband were
Right.
talking about that. I was like, gosh, it's so good to see Usher. He is crushing it. He is like our generation's Michael Jackson. And then he's like, yeah, I mean, even down to the glove. And I was like,
That's
oh,
so funny.
shit, you're right. Why is he wearing the
Wow.
glove? I don't
I
know.
didn't even notice the glove. I think I was too
Yeah.
distracted by Jermaine Dupri's outfit.
You and the rest of the internet.
I was like, JD, what are you doing, baby? What? Them shoes and socks? What? Oh,
I
no.
think it took everybody a second just to figure out who that was.
Yes. I was like, what movie did I see this from? Like, what character is he playing? Because I am so confused.
That's so
Oh,
funny.
Yeah, that was funny.
I gotta say, he covered all the hits, every song that I wanted to hear. He did, and then a couple that I wasn't totally sure what they were called, but I somehow knew all the words.
Yep.
I think, and it's just me, but I also think that he included the appropriate amount of petty into his performance. And I will tell you why. I think a lot of people had thoughts about what song he would start off with. He started off with Caught Up.
Hmm
And I think that was a direct shot to Kiki Palmer's former employee, aka her ex-boyfriend.
Oh, because all that drama happened when she was at his show, at his residency last year, right?
Correct.
Or the year
Oh.
before
Correct.
last.
Yep. So I
Wow.
think somebody should check on that man because he's not okay, I guarantee it.
Well, yeah, he ain't okay, period.
Damn. I didn't
Wow.
even pick up on that. Good
Me
catch.
either. Yeah, that is good. I'm gonna have to Google that after this. That's a good catch. Yeah.
I was
Oh,
like,
wow.
oh, you start with this? Ooh, okay.
Okay, so I was like we were playing like a drinking game. I was like the only one not drinking. Everyone else was drunk. And they were playing a drinking game about Taylor Swift, like how many times is she gonna show up on the screen?
Oh, Lord.
So obviously they were all drunk by the end of the game,
About to
which
say.
is hilarious. So I was kind of caught up in the whole Taylor of it all, and like, but now I want to go back and like catch myself up on the Kiki Palmer of it all because that is way more interesting.
I
Yeah.
completely agree.
Yeah. It was, when did this happen? Over the summer, I think? When she had his concert?
Yeah, I think it was the fall of 2022 or like toward the end of 2022. Because one, everything feels like 2019 for me, but it was recent. And I didn't fact check this before because I know we're going to talk about it, but I'm pretty certain like her and him are no longer together, like her and her baby daddy.
Yeah,
Um,
they're definitely not. What is his name? Darius something?
Yeah. Such a shame. Kiki, I love Kiki. Like, I think she
she's
is
great.
an incredible human being, person, badass. Would love to be her friend. Shout out if you're listening, be our friend. But yeah, don't mess with Kiki. Please don't.
Don't mess with Kiki. And she has a podcast. Maybe we can get her on one of our podcasts.
And she can give us the full tea. Like, Kiki,
Yeah.
come here, love. We need to talk to you.
Yeah.
We love you. Come do both of our podcasts.
Please.
I would love that. That'd be awesome.
Gosh, right? All right, we're willing it right now into existence. So however long it takes from now, we can all like agree, we did that.
Yeah, and we'll shout each other out.
Yes, absolutely. 1000%.
All right. I'm curious how we got all the way to Kiki Palmer, but
Pop culture. That's how we got here.
yeah, you know what? I never really thought of us as a pop culture podcast, mostly because I live under a rock, but I was pleasantly surprised with how much I actually knew what you guys were talking about.
About to say, you've been like you've been leading the conversation. What do you mean you live under a rock?
I apparently don't. I thought I did, but apparently I'm listening and I'm paying attention. Like I'm under my rock, but the rock is slightly ajar and I can hear whatever everyone else is saying.
I love that visual.
Well, it kind of
Patrick-
fits introverts a little bit because a lot of times we don't people think because we don't talk or we don't talk a lot that we don't know certain things. So when a
Right.
certain topic hits and we start talking like we're, an expert on the subject, they're like, where the hell did this come from?
The passion,
Exactly.
the
Right. Yeah.
gutspa.
Exactly.
Like
I have
last
been
night,
activated.
yeah, last night I knew so much about like Taylor and Travis, and everyone's like, "You've never once ever expressed an interest in Taylor Swift." I'm like, "Yeah, I guess not," but I've been listening. Are you a Swiftie?
Okay,
At the
so
risk of like scare, I mean, Swiftie, don't add us. I am not, but
I was
it's
gonna
a,
say I am not a Swiftie, but I'm also like not necessarily a hater.
oh yeah, no,
I'm just she's a human being. Cool.
yeah, I respect it. I respect the hustle.
Great. Cool beans. Heck yeah.
Yeah.
And then I should probably, and I, of course, I have certain opinions, but like some of that just comes from me being like a former like entertainer, like theater kid
Right.
and all that kind of stuff. But no, I think she is I'm so impressed by her brand because I
Yeah.
can only imagine being that level of a superstar and like, not saying that who we see is not really her, but I'm sure there is like a level of it's a brand, right? She's got to kind of play the part because
Right.
she's got too much clout not to, too much on the line. And it's just so impressive too, because I'm confident. I mean, I don't know her obviously, but I
Right.
feel like you can't do this for as long as you have, and like what we see not be some part of who you are, right? Like I would
Oh
be
yeah.
shocked if it came out that she was like some bitch, like some mean ass mean girl. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Maybe she is. I don't know. If she is, then damn, she is good at personal branding. I would never guess
And
it.
a good actress too.
Yeah, big time. But I have respect
Um,
for her, but I'm not a huge fan of her music.
right. I like her music. It's a lot of it's catchy. I thought that the Folklore album was pretty good during COVID. It
Mm.
was like very like Joni Mitchell-ish.
Yeah.
Um, and then I thought that the most recent album was pretty good. It's catchy. Um, but what I love about her and what I really respect is that, and a lot of people actually hate this about her, but I relate to this. Like the fact that she turns her experiences into art, like it's like
Mm.
I love that. And like a lot of people don't like it. Like I've heard a lot of jokes like, this Travis Kelsey relationship is gonna end in uh either the most beautiful romance or the best album of the year.
Mm.
Which I mean, yeah.
Yeah.
But like I respect it. Like you're so relatable because you're just sharing from experience and she's not sharing like a lot of music nowadays, especially when people rise all the way to the top. It's like all about how rich they are and how famous they are, and it's like I don't really give a shit.
Yeah.
Good for you, but like I can't relate to like you popping bottles in the club. Sorry. Um, like, but what I can relate to is having my heart broken or, falling in love or having this argument or, like all of the things that she talks about, it's so real and like she really taps into the human experience. So
I was
I
just
love
thinking
that.
that. I was just thinking the human experience. Wouldn't it be crazy to find out that Taylor Swift's actually an introvert? Like, what if
She
she's
is.
like, oh, she is? Really?
Hmm.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. And it kind
Interesting.
of makes sense because she's like just the way that her brand is like so well thought out. Like she'll like drop hints in interviews like 3 years prior to like writing the song. Like it's like all so intricate and so well thought out. Like it makes sense.
That's interesting. That's also
Yeah.
overwhelming.
Oh my
Like,
God, yeah.
like, whew, the thought behind that. But I'm sure she has people helping her. All I'm thinking about is like
Absolutely.
me being responsible for all of that for myself, and I want to vomit. I'm like, oh
Oh
my
my
God.
God, I know. I guess when you like what you do, it's like for her, it's just an expression of like whatever she's feeling. Um, yeah. Jay, you're very quiet.
I I thought we understood Taylor Swift and the Swifties.
Okay. Well, we'll let you plead the fifth on your thoughts.
Yeah, I mean for the record, I'm not a fan. of
All right, just stop there. We don't need the Swifties. We don't need the Swifty army coming after.
I will say this, I'm probably leaning more towards Jay
Mhm.
than I am Steph in terms of my Swiftiness, but that's all. I'll stop there. I'll end there.
Yeah, no, I sound like a Swifty. Like I said, I listen from under my rock, and I just absorb all these thoughts and opinions, and I don't know.
I love it. I love it. Oh, goodness.
Oh my goodness. So, where do we even go from here? So, Liz, are you an introvert? Like, I think we've talked about this maybe a little bit offline, but
Yes. So I have been thinking about this question, been waiting for this question, because like, first off, I'm obsessed with like personality type things, like tests or astrology, anything to help identify who I am. It's like, I need help better understanding me. I will take all the tools. And so I do believe that I am actually extroverted.
Okay.
But in understanding introversion, extroversion, like I'm sure you guys know this. I'm sure you guys know this. Listen to me. I know you guys know this. The ambivert, which is like the what introverted, extrovert, extroverted, introvert, which
Right.
we could talk about what that means exactly. But I do think probably fall more on the ambivert like line. However, I do get fulfilled from people. I love putting myself out there. I love stimulation like that. However, as I've gotten older and also kind of worked through some mental health issues like depression and anxiety, I've learned that, I can get overstimulated. And if I ignore that, then I'm wiped, and wiped like not in a good way, like not even just exhausted, like then anxiety creeps up. It's like I depleted my tank so much so I ran through the emergency stash. And now I'm just left with my own, like the consequences of my own actions. So that's where I'm like, I do have a limit.
Yeah,
So,
I mean, I think it definitely exists on a scale. I definitely fall more towards the ambivert line. But I'm definitely on the introverted side of that line. So like nobody would ever even confuse me with being an extrovert. Actually, that's not true. A lot of people are surprised. But that's only because I've taught myself to, you know, to know when my energy levels are running out. I'm not very good at doing anything about it. Um, sometimes my battery just dies in public, and like, where do we go from here? Um, um, but yeah, I completely relate to that. And Jay, I know you probably fall more on the introverted side of things.
most definitely. I am well, apparently I'm not 100% an introvert. I took a test one time and it said I was 93, which seemed kind of low for me, but okay. So I am I am 93% an introvert, but kind of like you said, I've taught myself, how to maintain and be more social when the moment calls for it. But I definitely know my limit and know when it's time to get up out of there.
yeah,
I
I would
love
say
that.
my husband, he is like we're polar opposites. Like he's way more introverted than me. Like he is an introvert by true and true. So I've learned different things from him. I kind of push him to be a little bit out of his shell. Don't worry, I'm not making him uncomfortable or anything, but push himself a little bit. And then I've also learned how like it's okay to be a homebody. It's okay to like just decompress within myself. And COVID really highlighted a lot of things for a lot of people. And that's when I kind of went through my mental health struggles and battles. And that's when I learned, I do like recharging by myself, because I used to just push myself around people, this and that. And it's like, no, I do need to go home and like just be with me and my thoughts and not care about being on for anyone.
Mm.
And it's interesting because now post COVID, and since having launched the podcast, like I just did my first event for like a vision board party earlier this year, and it was the first event I've done since COVID, and it was great. It was exciting, but I was telling my friends, I was like, I feel like I almost blacked out because I was so overstimulated by being the host, talking, canoodling with other people, networking, putting this person next to this person so they'll talk. You know what I mean? Like, because I'm really good at that. It's like I felt like I was watching myself in slow motion, but then I was also living it in real time. It was a very weird phenomenon. So I don't know. Fully extrovert, maybe. Extroverted introvert, possibly. I don't know.
Yeah, it sounds like you might be more like definitely on the extroverted side, but with a little bit of introvert in you. And I've definitely heard people say that like as they've gotten older and just like grown into themselves, like they don't need as much going, like they can be home and it's okay. Like they don't have to be constantly doing things and moving around. But yeah, I mean we actually just hosted our first event as well.
I
And
know. I was going to ask you guys about that.
Yeah.
yeah, it was interesting to hear you say like you kind of felt like it was an out of body experience because that's exactly how I felt the entire time. And I actually think that I like detached from like my own body, and that is why I didn't run out of battery earlier than I did. Like that
Hmm.
sounds like maybe I should go get some help, but like I was okay. I was okay. It was just like I don't like I was like it was such an out of body experience. I wasn't really thinking about what I was saying. I wasn't really like I don't know. It was weird.
Yeah, I can relate to that. It was just like I was just going. I don't know where I was
Yeah,
going. I somehow was in the
right.
same room, but yeah, I just blinked and it was over, but also it felt like the longest time and I had the most
Yeah,
fun. I'm not taking away from the fun of it, but
right.
it was interesting to be in that position, like be the host,
That's so
leading the
cool.
charge, right? So, yeah, I wonder if we subconsciously detached, like that was like our subconscious putting boundaries in place for us. I don't know.
Yeah, like it's almost like it was keeping us from like falling apart.
That happened after the fact because,
Oh yeah.
pushed myself too far. I was wiped.
Oh yeah. So what does a vision board party look like? That sounds awesome.
Well, I believe like just how do I say this? I'm not trying to like, of course, manifesting all that kind of stuff people talk about. I wouldn't say I'm a huge manifester only because like, I don't know, I have way too many interests and I can't ever get my brain to calm down enough to focus on one. But I wanted to have like, I wanted to do a little cute little event, make it local. And just cause like some of the, if you want to call them pillars or maybe core values is a better way to explain it for my podcast is self-love, self-empowerment, believing in your dreams, believing in like yourself enough to go after whatever it is you want, no matter how big or how small. Like it's important to you. That's what matters. And I I threw this because like, I don't know, I was one surprised by how many people didn't know vision boards. Like they were like, what's a vision board? And I bought all the materials and I bought magazines and basically I created these journal prompts for people. I took like a couple of different, like more broad topics. So think like relationships, personal
Hmm.
development, professional development, spiritual growth, whether it's actual spiritual, like religious, maybe, or I was like health and I did spiritual health, like physical health, mental health. Um, and some people do vision boards for like looking at the year. Sure, there's that, but I like just to put what I want for my life and visualize it like past just a year. So like my vision
Yeah.
board had some stuff that was like, cool, yeah, this year I'd like to get a house. I'd like to buy a house. Yeah.
Mhm.
But it was like I put Dancing with the Stars on there because I would dream to be on Dancing with the Stars.
Oh
I
my
put
God.
like a Photoshop thing of a TED Talk stage and I put a picture of me on there.
Oh, I love that.
um
Ooh.
and it's a fun thing. It's a fun craft, arts and crafts, right? Cool. But also you're being intentional with what you want, right? Like people were thinking about what do I want like this year, next month, this week? What are like maybe you're very in tune with that about yourself, or maybe you need a little pushing and not like that's bad, but a little introspection. I love introspection. I love it.
Same.
Um, but it was really cool seeing people, like I felt like a kindergarten teacher walking around like, show me your vision board. But it was really cool seeing everyone like get into it. And like this one chick, she was like, okay, we're redecorating our house and this is kind of what I was thinking for the bathroom and this and this. One of my other friends who came, she's getting married, so like literally she planned her entire wedding from her vision board, and she was like, wow,
Oh my
thank you so
God.
much, I needed to do this. So there's no wrong way to do a vision
I
board.
was gonna say, I feel like, a lot of people are like, I don't know how to do it. It's like just run with it. What's on your mind?
Yeah. Just if anything, just think about what you want. Like
Mhm.
literally. Well, I don't know what I want. What do you mean what I want? What do you want for your family? What do you
Mhm.
want for your job? What do you want for your hobbies? What, like, do you want to be like a yogi? Do you want to learn to play piano? Do you want to
Mhm.
be a professional dog walker? I don't know. Like, the options are endless. So I think the
Right.
best thing is just to ask yourself, like, well, what do I want? Like, what are my goals? And
Right.
there are no goals too small and there are no goals too big, as far as I'm concerned.
Wow. I love that. And I guess the intention behind creating this is to sort of visualize what your life looks like when you're actually there. Is that right?
Yes, exactly. So,
Okay.
and then the idea is, you have this vision board, right? It's things that you care about, that you want to focus on, or you want to go after, or whatever. Maybe you're already in the process of it, right? Because like we're podcasters, but I put like 1 million followers because I definitely don't have that yet. So it's like, where's my goals from this? But it's also like the constant reinforcement of seeing
Right.
it. And I know that sounds silly and kind of cheesy, but it really is a thing because I have my board right in front of me on my desk, like on the wall, and I'll just glance up and look at it and I'm like, oh yeah, not that I've forgotten any of it, but it's right there constantly reminding you.
Right. Right. And it's kind of like, okay, like what have I done about this lately? Like, have I taken any steps in that direction of maybe moving there? Like, is this, the top of my priority list, or is this maybe something that I want to wait to pursue? So it's
Exactly.
it's nice to have it in front of you.
Exactly. So everyone listening, go make your vision boards.
Yeah, including me. I'm talking like I have one, but then again, I'm practicing being a vision boarder. But I have the vision of me creating a vision board now that we've just talked about it.
Hey, there you go.
I actually have a vision board myself. It's for my business, but it's definitely a vision board.
There you go. And does it help? Like just to constantly see it and reinforce like, okay, yeah, that's my plan for this month. Okay, that's the direction I want to go in.
Oh yeah, it definitely helps because one, it helps you getting all that stuff out of your head, and then
Yes.
then it does give you some sense of direction. Like Steph said, whether you want to do it now or do it sometime in the future, it's just something, it's something to look forward to, something to strive towards.
Wow. Was this podcast on your vision board last year?
No.
Well, look
Cool.
at that. So see, everyone, you cannot plan for amazing things to happen, and then they just
Yeah,
happen.
I love
So
that. That's awesome. And how did you get into like the vision board stuff? Did that come during COVID? I know that you said you struggled with some mental health stuff, or were you into that before, or did that help you get through the mental health stuff?
So I honestly don't remember the first time I ever heard about a vision board. I'm trying to think, and I'm honestly brain farting. I have no idea, but I made my first vision board in like 2019, and that was
Mm-hmm.
when I'd already had the idea for a podcast, but 2019 was like the year that I thought to myself, I was going to actually do it. Spoiler alert, it didn't happen, but me then I thought I was. So like the vision board I made was like more so built upon some habits I wanted to develop, and then also like filled with empowering, inspiring quotes because mind over matter. And for me, like having a mind that goes 1,000 miles a second, it feels like I quotes were like the thing that grounded me. So whenever I'd feel overwhelmed with like believing in my dream enough to go after it, right? Put your eggs in that basket. And I'm like all the things in my brain are going off. Like, this is not the status quo. This is not the proven path. What are we doing, ma'am? This is scary. I would then like look at those quotes to kind of ground myself and like, I don't know, reestablish my foundation of, no, we believe in our dreams. Like, who says you can't? Because it all kind of came from me asking myself, what is my dream job? And who says I can't create one? And who says I can't follow that? Who says that
That's
can't be
amazing.
my reality? So that's kind of where it came from. And then COVID hit, mental health went up, but really it was already kind of crappy. I just didn't realize it. Because, being busy and work and life stuff gets in the way, and it's just easier to keep going on autopilot. And then COVID said, wait, we're just going to make everything stop. And then you're like, oh, I have some issues.
Oh my God, the way that I relate to that, like to my core. Yep. Like I love what you said there about how, you kind of had some issues, but then COVID kind of just put them on blast.
Yep.
I experienced the exact same thing. And I always think back to like, where would I be now in a parallel universe if COVID never happened? And it's like, oh God, I don't even want to know
No.
because I was forced to face all this shit and unpack it and like, look it in the eye and look at myself in the mirror and ask myself what I really wanted. I was able to like kind of untangle all of that stuff I didn't even know was there because before I didn't have the time to look at it.
I couldn't have said that better myself.
Oh, really? I felt like that was a jumble of words. So thank
No,
you.
no, I'm serious. Like, that's exactly kind of how my experience was.
Wow.
Yeah. And I had a really bad car accident in 2017. I got hit
Oh
by
my
a really
God.
like huge like box truck, like not an 18 wheeler, but a big like box truck. And
Oh my God.
long story short, it gave me some PTSD and it gave me a really severe concussion that brought on some issues that I wasn't aware of.
Wow.
And I just was ignoring my mental health, and I was judging myself, and no one explained to me what a concussion did and what it does to your brain chemistry. I mean, even the neurologist I was seeing didn't educate me. He was just like, you need to take these drugs, like these meds. And I'm like, okay. Also, I think I'm losing my mind, but maybe that's just me. I don't know.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it was crazy.
Nobody ever tells you like what a concussion actually does to like your brain, like your emotions. Like,
Oh, no. And I thought they were no big deal because I grew up like, I don't know, people got concussions. Not that I knew a lot of people with
right.
them, but I knew people who had them, so I didn't know. But yeah, it basically destroyed my like cognitive functioning skills, where my conflict resolution was non-existent. I would think of myself as like the Hulk. That's what it felt like. I had no fuse. So everything was like on a scale of 0 to 10, everything was a 10. And I was always like the problem. Like I was always too dumb or too stupid and I know that's a really negative inner narrative. I'm just trying to tell you, the situation was kind of dire. You know what I mean? But
Right.
it was just the most intense. Oh yeah, it was just the most intense emotions I could think of. Like I literally was insane for like 3 months. And I look at that, I look at that girl, that version of me then, and I just want to wrap my arms around her and give
Aw.
her love, because I was sick essentially. I had an injury and I didn't have the proper treatment or education to know how to treat it. So I was just left with me, myself, and no one was telling me otherwise. So what else was I supposed to think, right? I was the problem. It wasn't my
Right.
brain.
Wow. And so I'm curious, like, did you start to ask questions about, what was going on there during COVID? Like, did you have to wait until you had that time during COVID to actually explore that?
Yes, I will say this about the pandemic. It's not that the pandemic brought on more of the issues. It's that because I no longer had, because I went remote, right? Like a lot of people, my job went remote. Everything, like, I mean, even in the earlier stages, you couldn't leave your apartment kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
You had to stay inside. And so because all my life, quote, end quote, noise shut off, I had to face the music that was me. At the time, I had gotten a new therapist, not by choice. My current one, who now looking back on it, they were not the right person for me. She was on maternity leave, which that was, gosh darn, a freaking just catastrophic thing in my head. I was like, oh, how am I going? Oh, what am I going to do? Because I wasn't okay. But that new
Right.
therapist, she is who healed me. She is who helped me realize you're depressed. You're not broken. She
Hmm.
is who helped me realize, like, this is why, like, this is how a concussion has, like, this is like why you're thinking this way. This is why your thought process is this way. She helped me just like relinquish like the pressure I was putting on myself, because like, I don't know if you guys have struggled with depression, but I wasn't taking care of myself, like brushing my teeth, showering. I mean, geez, like it was an inconvenience just to go to the bathroom. That's how depressed I was. Like I just wanted to
Wow.
wallow. And it was a very weird feeling because for most of my life, I've always been a very positive, like very hyper, but like, theater kid-esque person. And here I was feeling completely empty. I'd never felt that
Wow.
before. Um, and I remember feeling that emptiness. And then, you know, not that I was suicidal, but like there was a suicidal ideation where you're like, okay, well, you're coping with the thought, well, I could end it. And that would that would release me from this emptiness. And then I was like, wait a second, that's not good. Where we are in not so good territory. And so that's how my healing started. And a lot of it was like relinquishing control over like thinking I was okay and just accepting like, hey, you're not okay, but that is okay, you know? And because of it, I got through it, and I got through it with the help of my therapist and friends and lots of different things. Friends, family, I shouldn't say friends, like family, my husband, my mom. But that's why I always really stress self-love. And I like telling this story because self-love, like I obviously could not get myself out of my depression. I didn't even realize I was in it. I was beating myself up for it, right? And self-love was that when I had that thought, that emptiness and that suicidal ideation came through where, well, you could end things and then you wouldn't feel this way. There was something that triggered me. Hey, that's not healthy. What about your mom? Like, she loves you. You couldn't do that to her. What about your partner? And it like that's what I call self-love. Like, yeah, I I was miserable and at my lowest low, but the self-love, the self-respect that others had given me, right? In this instance, that's what propelled me to ask my therapist, hey, or to tell my therapist, hey, I had this thought, please don't freak out. And of course she didn't because it was a safe space. I was like, I'm good. I'm not thinking this, but I'm having these thoughts as a coping mechanism. And I don't think that's healthy. That to me is self-love. I I didn't know how to help myself, but I love myself enough to say I need help. That is self-love. So even
That's
though it was
amazing.
really crappy, it brought on a lot of lessons. So when you said earlier, it's hard, it's like I can't even think about who I would be if it hadn't been for the pandemic. I feel that so deeply because
Hmm.
of the level of growth that I went through in that
That's
time.
incredible. Wow. So first of all, I want to say thank you for like sharing and opening up and just being so vulnerable like that.
Absolutely.
Wow,
Hope it wasn't
like
too much. I'm sorry.
amazing. No, it was like amazing, and like I hope people who are listening just, just know that it's I don't even know what to say. I'm actually speechless for once, but I just wanted to say thank you for sharing that.
Oh.
Um and one thing that you did say toward the end was you mentioned that, you shared with your therapist that you were having these thoughts, not necessarily because you were actually going to act on them, but because you didn't really know what to do with them.
Right.
And I think that is so important because I don't go to a therapist. There are times when maybe I should, but I do not. But I know I have a lot of friends that do, and they've expressed that there are things that they don't even share with their therapist. And I've seen that sentiment shared online, on the
Mm.
internet where people talk about like, I haven't even told my therapist this. And it's like I just think it's so important if you're gonna hire somebody to help you with this stuff. I mean, I can't speak to it because again, I haven't been to a therapist, but I thought it was really powerful that you shared probably the scariest thought you could possibly share with this person, and you really let them into your heart and let them into your inner world and allowed them to help you. And I really thought that was important.
Thank you for saying that. I really, really appreciate it. And I will say two things to that. One, for me, that was my personal rock bottom.
Mhm.
Everyone's rock bottom is different. That's what I like to
Yeah.
say. And for me, it was like feeling literally nothing. Like, okay, sure, we're tired. We're like, numb, like whatever, we're drifting off. I mean, I physically felt emptiness. I don't even know how else to describe it. Like I felt like my insides felt hollow. And it was so weird. I'd never felt that before. And for anyone that is not comfortable, because I have some friends who are not completely honest, and I agree, like, sure, you are paying somebody, so think about that. You want to get your best bang for your buck, funny speaking. But two, I think there's a lot of shame attached with
Mhm.
things, and like any okay, again, this is me talking about my personal experience, but anything that I have ever felt shame over, when I finally open up about it, when I tell you, either A, I find 15 other people who feel similarly,
Mhm.
right? Or two, my therapist or whomever it is that I'm sharing it with, they they either have the same feeling or they're like, "Well, that's normal."
You mentioned that there is kind of a stigma of like shame when it comes to therapy and mental health and taking care of your mental health and even acknowledging that you might need help. And I'm happy that the tide seems to be shifting in that regard. Like
Yeah.
I remember growing up, you know, people will look at you like you were crazy or you should be in like a asylum if you dared even suggest that you have to go talk to somebody. And
Right.
it's sad because you on the one hand, it's good that we're kind of moving away from that mindset and that viewpoint, but it's like, damn, how many people haven't been helped who could have been helped because they just subscribe to that.
I
Right.
think about that all the time. I really do. And the reason why is because one, like my algorithm on social media is feeding me honestly a wide variety of things, but there's like, love yourself, go after your dreams, vision boards, like it's that kind of commentary. So sometimes when I'm doing my podcast, I'm thinking, God, people probably just are so sick of this shit. They are tired of me talking about this because they're probably getting it from all angles too. And then I talk to someone, they're like, self-love. I never thought about that way. And
Right.
it's like it's like more common now, but it's still not common. And it's just like, at least in my
Right.
experience, it is so important. It is so important because like you matter. You matter. It is so good that you're here on this plane and this blue rock floating in the middle of space. Like we are a speck, and guess what? Your speck of a life is so important.
It
Like,
is.
yeah, we're all specks, but God, we're the best specks. And that's the way you need to look at it. And God, it breaks my heart that most of us don't feel that way. And I'm saying this right now, like confident, like I sound like a freaking Mickey Mouse character, but like I still struggle. You just caught me on a good day. But
Yeah.
how is it like as a society, and now granted, I know not everyone struggles with this, but as a society, like we do struggle with that. We do struggle to
Right.
love ourselves. We do struggle to have that positive inner narrative. Like, why are we beating ourselves up? Like, we should be, if anything, our biggest fans because life's hard enough as it is.
Absolutely. Amen.
Yeah.
Um, and you're as you're talking, I'm just thinking about the way that like one of the ways that I have practiced self-love, and I would love to get your take on this, is I used to be my biggest bully. Like I have these like inner voices in my head, and the loudest voice of them all was a bitch, like a cold-hearted, like just knocking me down constantly. I was never good enough. You're not smart enough. You're not this enough. Um, but the way that I've learned to practice self-love is I don't I don't respond to that version of my inner voice anymore. Like, if you're gonna be a bully, I'm not gonna talk to you.
No,
Um, and
exactly.
so I have taught like I think of her. She has her own like name. Not gonna say her name, but because she's named after somebody I didn't like in high school. Um,
Mm.
but I have taught her that we don't talk that way around here, and if you're gonna talk to me in that manner, I'm just not gonna answer. And so she'd learned how to talk to me with respect and love and the same way that I would treat anybody else. Um, she treats me better. So it's pretty cool. It took a long time to train myself to do that, but it was worth the effort.
I was gonna say, in my experience, it is repetition. Like
Hmm.
you just keep, just try that your hardest to catch yourself that when you find that negative voice coming through, just stop and
Hmm.
just, if anything, ask yourself like, why am I talking to myself like this?
Right.
And it's not gonna happen the first several times,
Yeah.
but after a while, the more you work on it, the more you're gonna be self-aware, and self-aware is the key
Right.
here. And like I feel as though as your self-awareness grows, you really take into account, like, I mean, I'm very hyper aware now that when my anxiety starts spiraling and that negative voice comes following, because there is a
Hmm.
difference in just being anxious and having an anxiety attack or something, but then being anxious, having that, and then I'm also beating myself up, like verbally abusive in my head.
Right.
So it is repetition and just constantly reminding yourself that you are amazing. Even when you mess up, like that's a lesson. You learn things. You learn from failure. You fail up. You don't fail down. Um, Also, I think about like every single choice I made led me here, and right now isn't so bad. So obviously I did something right. So then that helps me alleviate some of that burden I'll put on myself when I feel like I didn't hit the mark or I didn't live up to my expectation. And that's not to say that when you do mess up, like you say something that, that was a little bitchy, Liz. Why'd you do that? Or, you got frustrated with your partner or frustrated with your team or something like that. We're human. We mess up, but that doesn't necessarily mean I need to go spiral and beat myself up that I'm the lowest of the low. Of course not. Jay,
Right.
how's your inner narrative? Do you have a good positive inner narrative, or do you struggle with this too?
I definitely struggle with it sometimes. I think most of us have kind of a fear of failure.
Mm-hmm.
I think for me also and maybe for other people, there's also a fear of success, which is something that I've actually had to admit to myself, and it's something that I think I struggle with that more than fear of failure. Like I'm less afraid of trying and failing. Like I honestly don't give a damn about failing anymore because there's so much to learn in failure. You know, like you said, you fail up, you don't fail down. I think what I've had to come to grips with and be honest is, what if it works out? What do you do then? Because with success comes, more expectations and, you know, more more work and just more things that you're um responsible for. And that can be scary because you're not going to be able to continue to grow and continue to develop doing the same thing. And you start wondering, can I grow? Can I meet those expectations? Can I or will I be able to do this? So something that I struggle with, but I just push forward because for me, that's the only way that I can kind of move. I can't move backwards. I refuse to go backwards. I go forward or I go through. That's really
Mm,
it for me. And sometimes the only way is through. You
I
just,
love that.
you know, and some of it comes from, I draw inspiration from a lot of places, which I think helps me also. Um, you know, I've been fortunate to have a decent circle around me with people who push me or people who inspire me. So I draw a lot of inspiration from when I played football in high school. Sometimes literally the only way is through. Um, so because if you stand still, you're gonna get pummeled into the ground. So you might as well just move forward. Um, so, but yeah, it's definitely a struggle. Imposter syndrome is a real thing. Um, but I just try to keep pushing through. These are things that I do actually share with my therapist. It doesn't to me it doesn't make sense when people don't share or aren't completely honest with their therapist. It's kind of like, what's the point? But
Right.
I try to make it a point to share things with my therapist, and it's not easy, but it's not supposed to be easy. Um, but that person is there to help you. I don't I wouldn't say they're there to heal you, but they're definitely there to give you the tools to help you heal. But you have to be,
Exactly.
you have to be willing to be open and willing to be honest in order to, you know, help this person help you. Um,
Exactly. They don't, that's a great way to say that. Like they don't heal you. They give you the tools to heal yourself.
yeah.
Sorry, it's on mute.
Yeah,
Um,
because it's kind of like I don't know if either of you watch House, the TV show.
Oh
Um,
yeah, I've seen House.
one of my favorite shows, but what's he always saying? Everybody lies. And because they lie, it takes them way longer to figure out what's wrong with them. And it's usually that they figure it out, and it's probably something that they lied about in the first 10 minutes of the show. And it's like, if you just said this shit to begin with, we could have figured it out. Um,
wow, you're blowing my mind right now because I was just like one of the things that I was celebrating with my husband a couple weeks ago. Um, I don't know why I said that so formally. His name is Sean. I don't say my husband around here. Everybody knows Sean. Anyway, I was just talking to Sean the other day about how, like, for the first time in 2023, I started actually being 100% honest and upfront with my like physical medical doctors. And like, I don't know why I was like lying or like not fully being open with them. Maybe I was just ashamed. Like it was
Mm,
usually on the questions about like how many drinks do you consume in a month? Like I would never be upfront about that. But there were other like little things that I would just not tell the truth about to my doctors. And those were the people that were there to like help me heal or help me overcome my physical issues. And like as you're saying that, I'm like, I'm sitting here saying, why wouldn't you be upfront with your therapist? But like now looking back, it's like, why wouldn't I be upfront with my doctors?
well,
mm,
Um,
and I mean, it can be embarrassing. I think there are things that we look, and I mean, we feel it may be embarrassing, or we feel that it's shameful, or we feel that this person that we don't know is going to judge us. And then the worst case scenario, they're going to judge us and then go tell their colleagues about us in the back room while they're trying to figure out what's wrong. But it's like we have to be honest.
right.
If you put something where it's not supposed to be because of whatever, you need to tell your doctor. Like you can't just say I fell.
Right.
Like it doesn't work like that. And the thing is, he's probably smart enough to know, no, that's not how that particular thing gets in that particular place.
Right.
It's done with some level of intention. Now, depending on the situation, he may not call you out, but it makes the process longer and harder than it has to be.
Right.
In worst case
right.
scenario, worst case, you set this person down on a path um where he may come up with a solution that can actually cause you damage because he's trying to treat something that he thinks is the problem that really isn't a problem, but now that treatment sets in motion something else when all you had to do was be honest.
Wow.
That's a
And
very
I
good
would
point.
imagine that talking to a therapist is even like is that much more intimate and comes with that much more like stories that you have to sort of shift within yourself. Um, Like I said, I've never been to one, but I would imagine it's probably a lot harder than like as an outsider. I'm thinking to like open up and be upfront and share some of the most vulnerable thoughts.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, for
It,
sure.
it 1000%. It's definitely hard. Because I mean
Like
it.
I find sometimes when I'm like writing in my journal, sometimes I'm like, that stuff, what are you talking about? Like like nobody's ever gonna see this, so why don't you just tell the truth?
Yeah. But I'll say this, it's definitely freeing. And Liz, you can, let me know if I'm off base, but there's just something freeing about it once you've actually gotten whatever it is off your chest. Like it's just like a weight's been lifted because you keep things in so long, it just begins to weigh you down and it becomes a burden, and it literally affects how you live your life. So
Uh,
when you are actually find the strength rather to be, as open as possible, it just kind of sets you free in a way.
I completely agree with that. Um, and I actually will raise you even more. Like if you keep things in, it can show up physically in your body. Like there's a book called The Body Keeps Score. I haven't read it. It's actually on my to read list this
I
year.
have
But
it.
but it's about how trauma and that kind of like trauma, abuse, serious like issues that you hold internally, it will manifest physically. It'll manifest in your children, like your DNA. I mean, you could have trauma from your parents or grandparents or whomever. It's really crazy
Mhm.
how this affects your nervous system and things like that. And yeah, I'm kind of talking now like even more intense situations, but to what Shay was saying, like it will affect you and it'll get heavier and heavier because also what is happening there, the reason you're not sharing it is because you have some level, like you have some negative association with it in yourself. Most often it is shame,
Mhm.
and embarrassment, whether it's shame, embarrassment for you personally or shame, embarrassment over like, well, my mom was this way. Oh, my dad was this way. Oh, my partner was this way. And like, I am the dummy for being with this person. Oh, I'm the dummy for letting my mother treat me this way, whatever. It is absolutely freeing. It is so freeing. Um, but it's also freeing. Okay, it is freeing, but even past just freeing, like maybe this is like a level up from freeing, it is peace to yourself.
Yeah.
And I like it is like a core memory of the feeling of being empty, that feeling. And then the moment my therapist like got through to me when it finally clicked, because yes, she is not healing me of my depression. If anything, she is giving me the tools, she is helping me follow the path in my own head to get to that conclusion, because she can sit there and say you're depressed and I might be like, oh, you might have a hunch there, but like like, you gotta like I gotta believe it. Like, what do you mean I'm depressed? What does that mean? And so she explains, well, you're thinking this and you're thinking that and you're thinking this and these are all, and then it all starts getting together. And the aha moment when it finally hit me, oh my gosh, I'm not broken, I'm depressed, and that's okay. Then the healing started because I finally accepted it. And now where am I going to go? I'm going to go up because I no longer was holding myself down. So it is embarrassing. It's so hard. It's uncomfortable. And I am not telling you that your first session or even second or even third, sometimes you're going to be an open book. Like, okay, here's my life story. But I encourage you that it is safe to do that. And I also want to say quickly, because I know people who have struggled with this too, sometimes you don't always pick the best therapist first.
You got to kind
And
of fill them out, right?
Yeah.
and it doesn't necessarily mean that, oh, this Elizabeth's not a good therapist, but maybe she's not the right therapist for Jay. You know what I mean? Maybe Jay needs somebody
Right.
different. And that is a pain in the ass, especially if you're not used to therapy, because what's your first thought? Well, I'm broken. Or if you already had reservations against it, you're going to be like, well, I was right. I'm not going to do this. You know what I mean? I
Right. And it could
promise.
be really traumatic, I'd imagine, to like
Oh,
open up.
1000%. And
Yeah.
my little tip for that is like when I got my new therapist that I see now, because I basically graduated from the therapist that I was seeing. I was specifically looking for somebody who practiced in PTSD, because that was the thing that I needed to like really work on and overcome, because I was, all right, cool. I'm mentally in a much better place. Now let's work on some of these other issues that are not all consuming, like the depression was, to the point that I wasn't even showering or brushing my teeth or eating. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
But yeah, just don't give up. If it like I like to say that though, because I know a few people who have struggled with finding the right therapist. Heck, even I didn't have the right therapist at first, and I didn't even realize it until
Mhm.
finally I was like, I'm not getting better. So maybe something's up. And then she ended up going on maternity leave, so it kind of forced me to find someone new, but it ended up being the biggest blessing in my life.
You know,
Wow.
um, Elizabeth, you mentioned earlier a few minutes ago that, it's hard, or one of the dangers rather of keeping things to yourself is that it comes out eventually, whether, in your life, physically, what have you. And it just kind of got me thinking that I don't know if like humans are necessarily built to kind of keep things to themselves, because you see, and, we are very much a social species, but you see folks telling on themselves on social media a lot, and in life. And then, we're talking about therapy and mental health here. And to me, it's kind of like telling, your body is telling on itself like something's wrong. You can't hide it. You can't keep it down. And it's just like, I think, we just we tell on ourselves in different ways. And it kind of reminds me of, I kind of have a personal saying that well, not my saying, it comes from Edgar Allan Poe, is that the truth will out, meaning that no matter what you do, no matter how hard you try, the truth is going to come out. And it came from one of his books, The Telltale Heart, excuse me, where this man killed somebody, hid his body under the floor, and police were doing an investigation, and he got so nervous and stuff that he basically told on himself. Like all he had to do was be quiet, but there's something in him, that grief, that not grief, but the nervousness, the thought that he would be caught, he told on himself. And it's kind of the same thing. It's just, no matter how hard you try, the truth is going to come out eventually. So why not just be honest?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I'll tell you right now, I have, I know one of my best friends from high school, um, actually, I'm gonna cut that out. I'm gonna say somebody I know, if you don't mind saying, because like if they listen to this, they will know exactly who I'm talking about. So, somebody I know, amazing person, amazing, super smart, bubbly, loving, like cares about the well-being of their neighbor kind of person. Unfortunately, they had a lot of childhood trauma. None of it was their fault, obviously. They had a very unhealthy, gosh, like think of like the worst case scenario. Like you see soap operas and all the crazy shit that happens. This was this person's life, okay? At a very young age, under the age of 10. And not to get into all the details of it, but this person grew up thinking like, because they never got help for it really, and because of the environment they came from, there was certainly no one older, like an adult figure in their life saying, hey, this was not healthy, right? Because it was dysfunctional. And that holding on to that intensity, that trauma, it manifested into guilt and shame, and like and she lost herself basically. Like her anxiety and depression and mental health issues are just overly abundant in her, because she's not dealing with the trauma from her past, because she has ignored it for so long. She has now attributed it to like it's her fault, like she is the problem, right? But rather, and there's so much fear because of the shame that is now like part of her personality attached to it. So there's so much embarrassment and shame, and she's scared that what if I go get help and they tell me I'm like the people that caused me, like my parents that enabled this, right? And when you talk about the truth will come out, she can't keep relationships. She struggles to keep a job. She's still an incredible person. Okay. But she's lost herself. She doesn't have a good foundation because her nervous system is completely dysregulated. She doesn't have the right coping skills because, well, she was in fight or flight her whole childhood. She was
Right.
never taught normal regulation. And then you ignore that, all these very important things to like your foundation as a person, right? Like your nervous system, if that shit's out of whack, your days are not going to be easy. I'll tell you that right now. And it breaks my heart because I know where all of this is coming from. And it's coming from a fear to go and face your truth, face your past. And I know that she's not the problem. That like she is just unfortunately a product of the environment, but because she held on to it so long, it's just twisted in her head. So that's a very extreme example, but yes, the truth will come out. And I know people listening, like we all have skeletons. And sometimes it's skeletons that we brought upon ourselves, and sometimes it's skeletons that we did not deserve, and it's not fair. But we're still human, whether we brought them on or not, and we deserve to work through them. But we definitely don't deserve to hold on to them and keep them nice and clean in the closet because it's only going to destroy you. And I like remember how I said we're specks. Why tarnish the ability for your full spec existence because you're afraid, because of shame, you know? I don't know. If I could have a superpower, I know this sounds so cheesy, I would want to teach people to love themselves fully, even
Oh.
even through the pain, even the stuff that you're like, oh, I don't really like that side of myself. Like me, I'm a triple Taurus, and I can get hangry, and I can get, materialistic sometimes a little bit. Like we've all got some saltiness to ourselves, some spiciness to ourselves, and sometimes that's good. But I would love to, if I could just, I give you a touch and I'm like, oh, you love yourself, you're good. Like that would be my superpower. Cause I do think that if you have that self-respect, like you will be fine in life. That's not to say that you're going to do everything. No. But like with the therapy, okay, I love myself enough that I'm going to tell my therapist my full truth, even if it's scary, because, well, I deserve to feel happy. I deserve to not tell myself I'm a loser or I'm an idiot or I'm stupid or whatever the heck. So I don't know, but yes, Jay, 1000%, the truth will come out.
That's beautiful. Wow. I'm so excited for people to hear this entire conversation. I don't know how we went from talking about like Usher and Atlanta and Taylor Swift,
SpongeBob.
SpongeBob. Yeah, we were all over the maps, and we got all the way to the like some deep mental health stuff. So we really covered everything.
Yeah, we even threw in some House and Edgar Allan Poe.
Yeah, it was a very like prolific, very beautiful, poignant conversation. I loved it.
Yeah. The best part is if you're listening, there is going to be a part 2, or this one might be part 2. I don't know which one's going to come out first. But we are going to be on Elizabeth's podcast, the In Between podcast. I think tomorrow, like well, the
Yes.
day after this recording. So that one might be part 1, and you might
AKA
come
tomorrow.
AKA. Exactly.
But yeah, it's been such a pleasure having this conversation, and we are so excited to be guests on your podcast, Elizabeth. So
Oh, I can't wait. I'm so excited. This has been so lovely. I mean, I know we're like, I don't know. I love podcasting as I've met so many incredibly cool people like you, like yourselves. And I'm really, it's always great. Like when it clicks, you know what I mean? Like this
Yes.
has been so rewarding and so fun. I cannot wait for tomorrow or the recording after this, whatever we're saying.
It's kind of puts you in a time warp when you think about the podcasting release versus recording schedule.
Oh, yeah, right. Totally. 1000%.
In that
Yeah.
way, I do envy the podcasters that like release an episode every single day because they don't have to think about that, but that's also exhausting. So,
Uh, Gosh, what would I talk about every single day? I just be
oh
like,
my
love
God.
yourself above all else. Bye.
Right? Just come on for like 30 seconds and say that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't
But
know if I don't
anyway,
know if I can do an everyday podcast because I mean at that point you're just doing like the news.
Yeah.
Just
Right.
yeah.
Yeah, for sure. So today I had a tuna fish sandwich. What did y'all eat for lunch? Like,
Yeah, pretty much. I don't know if you've ever heard of the morning toast, or I guess they just go by the toast now.
oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um but they somehow managed to spend 20 minutes, and it's entertaining as hell. But they managed to spend 20 minutes every single day talking about like what they last did since they last talked yesterday. And it's like
What?
I can't even imagine like how like having that much life to
Right?
still share the following day after I just talked to you yesterday and the day before and
Yeah.
the day before.
I was just thinking, I'm like, I mean, I think I live a fun life, but it would be a lot of, so I had 2 espressos yesterday.
Mhm.
I had some Zoom meetings, looked out my window, saw some birds, saw a
Right.
squirrel. Yeah, it wouldn't be very exciting all the time. That's for sure.
Yeah, it's crazy. And they literally do 5 days a week, 52 weeks a year. It's nuts.
Yikes.
Um, so anyway, enough about them. Let's talk about our podcast. Um, so Liz, where can people find you? Where can they like what do you want to promote? What do you want to plug? What do you want to shameless plug, I guess?
Absolutely. If you're not doing so, which you probably aren't, because this is my first time on your podcast, I would love you all to follow me on Instagram. So the podcast Instagram is at in dot between pod, pod, so like in between pod, but in dot between pod. And then my personal Instagram is at Elizabeth Cheney underscore Cheney is Cheney. I like to promote both of those because I do a lot of my life stuff, entertainment, all that fun jazz on my personal. And the pod, I typically stick to like podcast stuff and things like that. So, come follow me. I'm also on TikTok at the In Between Podcast and YouTube at the In Between Podcast, but Instagram is where I'm most active. Although TikTok I have more fun on because I feel less nervous on it. Less high school friends
Interesting.
on there.
Interesting. Jay is working on his TikTok game, but he's I think you're not a big fan of TikTok, are you, Jay? I'm
uh
not even
it's
on
not
TikTok.
so much that I'm not a big fan of it. It's just that I right now don't have like all the stamina to continuously feed the beast. Like the
I agree.
people who are well, everyone's more successful than me on TikTok, but the people who like really
Same.
like the top producers, like they're churning out content, and it's not like they're doing something every 5 minutes. Like you can tell, like a lot of them batch their content. It's just that I haven't gotten to the point where I'm releasing five, six, seven videos per day. Like, and each one of them I'm actually talking in my voice. Like I just haven't gotten to that point yet.
Wow.
Me either, Jay. And those people who do that, it's insane. Like, I'm like, that's exhausting. And I was going to tell you, like, I feel like TikTok, you got to play it to like win it kind of thing. And
Mhm.
yes, I do not make content at heart. Like, I'm like one time random, maybe once a week if I'm good. But I also don't use it all that much because I'm just an Instagram girly. And
Right.
I think TikTok is so big on like, you use it, you can reap the rewards, but you got to use it. You got to search things. You got to interact with people. Like it's very much a social media type app. And like you said, like I just don't, I'm not there yet. I'm not there.
Yeah. And meanwhile, I'm not even on TikTok because I refuse to make videos. Um, I used to. I used to. It's a missed opportunity for me. Maybe I'll go back there eventually, but I like threads. Threads, I can just like, just open it up, type something out in 30 seconds and forget about it.
I was gonna say, didn't I find you guys on Threads? I feel like
I
that's how we
think
met.
so. Yeah, because
Yeah.
I'm just over there just like word vomiting all over the internet and like hoping for the best. But anyway, it was such a pleasure chatting with you, and we cannot wait for round 2 tomorrow. Or I need to stop saying tomorrow, but the one
Sometime in the
following
distant future, we'll be talking again.
yeah.
Woo!
Amazing. Well, we will talk to you very soon, and everybody go follow Liz. It's been so much fun to chat with you, connect with you, and kind of hear more about your story.
Absolutely. I loved this. I can't wait for y'all joining me on the in-between.
Yeah, we'll talk to you soon.
Bye.
So we're just not gonna do the thing.
Oh yeah, that part. I always forget that. So if you guys I was like too busy hyping up Liz and I don't even know.
No, I want you to know something. Are you talking about, is this like y'all's close? Whenever
Yes.
I have a guest, I always forget to do my thing. I'm always,
Oh
okay,
my
bye.
God.
Oh, wait, just kidding. LOL. If you like this episode, please rate, follow, so, like all that crap. So
That's
I'm
so
laughing
funny.
because I'm doing the same thing.
That's so funny. And thank God for Jay because I'm the one responsible for the clothes. I always pack it up. I always forget it. And he just does it. He tortured me because he likes to because he's nice like that.
Well, if it makes you feel better, I'll do the thing tonight.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Hey everyone, we really hope that you enjoyed this episode of the Stay Introverted Podcast with our special guest Elizabeth Cheney. If you liked today's episode, please leave us a message, rate, like, review it. If you haven't already, subscribe to the podcast. It's definitely awesome. We're definitely going to try to have more guests on here where we talk about that introvert life. So on behalf of Liz, Steph, and myself, I want to thank you again for joining us. And as always, stay introverted.
Stay introverted. Bye.
Bye.